You're locked into the only podcast for Maine high school basketball. The biggest names, past and present. It's Big Time Hoops, the podcast, right now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Big Time Hoops, the podcast, and we're diving into the world of college basketball again. We got UMAINE assistant coach Tom Biskup joining us tonight. Tom, how are you doing? We talked a little bit before we came online, but for the folks out there, how are things at Orono right now?
No, I'm good. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Thanks for doing what you do. It's really cool. Orono's good. Classes started Monday, so everyone's been here for a couple days now. They all had to come and get tested and get their test results. And then once they all got the negative result, we kind of able to move forward. So it feels like it's a little bit back to normal. I know there's things across the country that are a little bit different, but here in Orono, Maine, things seem kind of as normal as it can be, I guess, for fall right
Absolutely.
now.
So,
yeah,
as I just mentioned, it's kind of going to be like a two-parter thing where I want to kind of know how things are going to UMaine, kind of what the season may look like, how it may play out, and then also get into your route in terms of coaching and how you got to being at the highest level of D1 school. So I'm going to start on the UMaine side, though. As we see in the background, we got the 2 championship trophies back there. So I guess technically still the defending back-to-back conference champs, right?
We'll call it that. I think technically Stony Brook might have been awarded the championship last season just because they were regular season champs, but having the game canceled and us not being able to defend it, we still have the trophy that says that we're the champions from the last year the game was played. So it's definitely, last year was a roller coaster, and then we made our way to Stony Brook and we were on the bus and just got off. We're going to have lunch and they got the call that the game was canceled. So since then, really things have been crazy and change every day. And it's been an interesting 6 months, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So most of the people that I've had on that were affected by COVID were high school kids who got to at least finish up the regular season, finish up state championships and go all the way through. As you mentioned, you guys didn't even get a chance to play conference tournament, let alone potentially the national tournament. Was there ever like the moment, like when they call up the conference tournament, like, hey, like maybe something will still play out? Were you guys kind of still hoping that maybe initially something would kind of work its way out to where you guys would have some type of postseason?
It was kind of wild. So we were on the bus, and the ride from Orono, Maine to Stony Brook's a long one. But as we were going down there, it was the night where the NBA decided to, I think, not cancel completely, but shut down for a little bit. And once we saw that happen, we kind of had the feeling things were going to start rolling. So we got to our hotel in Stony Brook, and we saw on the TV, I think the ACC right in the middle of the game canceled their conference championship. So we didn't say too much, and we were trying not to put too much out there. But in the back of our heads, we were like, if these big time schools are starting to cancel their things, what are the chances we're going to be able to play? And even if our conference championship was canceled, we kind of saw the writing on the wall, I guess. So it came to a halt pretty quickly.
I'm guessing normally like at a program like UMaine where, you guys play out your season, play out your postseason, and then pretty much maybe take a day or two off, then you hit the ground running for the next year, right? I mean, it's a year-round thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering what that's been like this year with all the uncertainty where you're going there for the conference tournament, that gets scratched. Season essentially gets wiped out and it is ended. And then you kind of have this 6-month period where there's just things changing constantly. So how has this off season been different? I mean, clearly it's different, but how has it been? How has it tested you as a coach, as a coaching staff? Like I'm guessing it's almost different week to week in terms of what you could do, what you couldn't do, what may happen, what is going to happen type thing. Just kind of run us through the timeline and how things have been evolving.
It's definitely, so we play typically kind of up to the beginning of March, mid-March, and then we give our girls a couple weeks off, and then we get started with postseason workouts. So that'll bring us to the end of the school year. And then really all the summertime, we're either doing workouts on campus or recruiting takes up a huge chunk of our time during the summer. So once kind of things slowed down and came to a stop in March, it was really day by day and waiting to see. I think in our minds, we thought, a couple weeks and we'll get back to normal. And then March turned into April, turned into May. The recruiting was non-existent this summer, honestly. So in a typical summer, we'll go to some of the bigger events in the United States, and then we'll also go over to Europe and recruit internationally over there, and all that was canceled. So this was the first summer in a couple of years I've been in Maine. So I know COVID's been terrible and it's affected a lot of people, but kind of looking at the silver lining, us people being from Maine, it was one of the first summers we got to really be in Maine and explore Maine a little bit, places we might not normally be able to go. But it was definitely on the recruiting front. We did a ton of recruiting over Zoom. We actually, I think everyone's timeline kind of got pushed forward with recruiting just because there were no big AU tournaments. There were no opportunities for coaches to see some of the rising seniors play. So I think we took advantage of that, and we met with families, we talked with kids a lot. And I think it's been a different process, but for us, we've spent a lot more time getting to know kids as opposed to evaluating them, I guess you could say.
Were you guys able to lock in a recruiting class?
We were. I can't get into too many specifics, but we've some commitments. I think 4 commitments for the 21 class, which is, for us, we're normally waiting until March, April of kids' senior years before we lock those in. So I think we're in a pretty good spot. Obviously, we're going to have some big shoes to fill after this senior class graduates. So we got some lined up that I think will hopefully be ready for the challenge and step in and understand that there's a lot of ground for them to make up, and hopefully we can continue to build and grow.
So another thing I think we're going to see, and we've already seen a couple of kids from Maine be affected by it, is where they're lined up and ready to go to a school, and then the school's like, we're not doing athletics this year. So they've been kind of scrambling to find a new home. Have you guys run into that with people just reaching out like, hey, like I was supposed to go here, they're not going to have athletics, and and maybe anyone kind of falling into your lap that way, or kind of being pushed your way because of it?
Not really for us right now. We have 14 girls in our team, so anything more than that, it can become a little bit. It's a lot of personalities to manage, a lot of people to manage, as any group of people can be. But we haven't seen that too much here yet.
What does the summer look like? I mean, people eventually were able to start working out and stuff like that again. So you mentioned on the recruiting trail, obviously a lot different than it's been in the past. How different has it been in terms of off-season workouts and the kids being able to get back into the gym? Has that been any different than it's been in the past, or there's some challenges with that as well?
Yeah, so normally we'll do the girls get 8 weeks that they can work out in the summer. And in a typical summer, we have kids camps in July, so we'll have a lot of kids who come up here and we'll help out with that, and then we can do workouts with them. But really, we weren't allowed to have any kids back until almost the first week of August. So we were working from home. I was down in southern Maine with my parents for a lot of it. Coach Amy and Coach Courtney were up here. Breeze kind of bounced back and forth from Van Buren and in Orono too. So we did a lot of stuff. We did a lot of Zoom meetings. We didn't meet a whole lot in person, but we made the most of it, I think. And then once August came, things started to kind of come into place, and we had some protocols in place where we felt like we could safely bring them back and start working out with them. There was a time we thought there's some issues with if the international kids could come back.
Oh yeah.
So Coach Amy got right on that and was talking to some people way above me about figuring out how to get them back, because that's kind of important for us here. So that all got figured out, and then our kids, especially the Europeans, slowly trickled back to start workouts and be ready for school.
So I saw some pictures last week of some of the girls in the gym, and they were wearing masks. And I'm curious, were you guys kind of treating were they elevation masks, maybe just like a cardio thing, or are these girls having to actually work out with masks? Is that an actual thing that's been put in place that they need to wear masks when they work out?
Yeah, that's one of the things. There's a bunch of different stipulations they put on us, but one of them is while they're in the gym here on campus, they have to wear a mask the whole time. So
is that a local thing, or is that coming down from the NCAA?
That's a school by school thing.
Yeah.
So our school, I think, is trying to be really cautious because we want to have a season. So we're doing whatever we can. But the first day, it was rough for some of them. I mean, some of the masks, you sweat through them, they just stick to you. So we weren't going too long with them. So we only had workouts for 45 minutes, but I think they got some extra cardio. It's just having to breathe through a layer of water, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's only going to help them. They're going to be the best conditioned team by the time the season rolls around here.
Hopefully.
Yeah. And then you mentioned they're back on campus now, and there's kind of I forgot what you call it with the NCAA. It's kind of calling it like a reconstitutional period or something like that.
Yeah, just like a reacclimation. the hope was, even before COVID, that there's more of a progression to get some of these kids who might not have played basketball throughout the summer, just get them reacclimated and kind of not start them right into the grind of the season. So slowly kind of bring them on board. And then with COVID, things definitely, they're being super cautious. So this first week, they're just doing kind of workouts on their own. They can go to open gym. And then starting next week, we'll start kind of the more typical preseason, where they'll work out with us 3 or 4 times a week. They'll have weight training, and then kind of see, hopefully that goes well for a couple weeks. Then it kind of gets amped up to the next level, next phase of play for us.
And Division I athletics is a huge commitment. I mean, it's pretty much from when you show up on campus the first day of semester, you're pretty much in it the entire school year, right? So I'm curious, what does it actually look like as of right now? What's the plan in terms of when's the season supposed to start? You know, what's preseason look like? What's the timeline look like? And how is it different than years past?
So right now we're really trying to plan for an on-start season until the NCAA makes a decision. There's been a couple dates thrown around of maybe push back the season or the first countable games until this date, or might be until later in November, early December. But until then, it's kind of our typical start to season. So this is not a great question. Amy's the one who normally works the numbers with the calendar, but once there's a date given, there's so many countable days before that you can start practice. So typically what we'll do is September will be our preseason, where it's just 8 hours that they have with us between individuals and weight room. So that's just 8 hours a week. We'll typically spend 4 with them, and then 4 will be with our strength and conditioning coach. And then once October 1st rolls around, that's when it gets up to your normal in-season training. So you have 20 hours per week to practice. So until things change on the NCAA's end, that's our plan. Our schedule, we have a non-conference schedule that's supposed to start beginning of November, and until things get pushed back, that's the date we're kind of circling and hoping for. But we'll, like anything that this past 6 months have taught us, it's to be flexible, and we'll see what happens, make the most of it.
Absolutely. So last season definitely had its challenges, right? So I mean, you guys came into the season the defending back-to-back champs and just were presented with obstacle after obstacle, right?
Yeah.
What are you most proud about the team in terms of how they responded over the course of last year? Because I mean, you guys got dealt some heavy blows, but I mean, I would think heading into the postseason, you guys still kind of felt good about it. Like you guys probably still felt like you had a fighting chance to come out of the conference, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it just goes to show what a tremendous job Coach Barron did building this program, and then Coach Amy taking over, and just the kids that we have here. We started the season with high expectations, and we were ready to play a really, really tough non-conference schedule. And then early on, our starting center, Fonnie Wadling, went down with a concussion in our preseason game. And then one of our first non-conference games, we were playing in Florida. Blanca, who was returning player of the year, defensive player of the year, she tore her ACL while we were playing Arizona State. And from that point on, we were playing with some juniors and then a lot of freshmen who just had very little experience. And I think from that point, from that tournament in Florida until really Christmas break, it was tough. It was not easy. It sucked, to be honest with you. I mean, we were asking things of players that just in a typical program, in a typical year, they wouldn't have to experience. And I think it goes to show more than anything else just how hardworking and how much they believe in themselves and believe in the mission of what Maine basketball is all about. So once conference season came to us, there were ups and downs. There were some games that we won that we probably shouldn't have, and there were some games we lost that we definitely learned from it. And then once we started playing teams a second time, we really hit our stride. So we went on a 10-game winning streak. We were able to host the first 2 rounds of our playoff games here at Maine. And then we were ready for the championship. And I know it's easy for me to say and we didn't play the game, but I really think going in, there was no doubt on our team's mind that we were there to win and repeat again as champions. And then obviously things fell apart, not on our end, but overall. But I think just it goes to show just how this team really believes in themselves, and they really pushed each other and never quit. And it was, as a coach, it's one of the, I think looking back, hopefully 10 years down the road, I think I'll remember this team maybe more than some of those championship teams.
You mentioned all the youngsters, all the underclassmen that got experience, right? So that's only going to help them going into this year. So probably the best news, if there was any good news that came out of the off season, was Blanca's coming back, right? She's coming back for one more year.
Yeah.
But then also all those people that got playing time last year had to have been like a jump start in their development, right? I mean, they just kind of thrown into the fire and they had no choice but to adapt, but to get experience and just be that much more ready for this year. How do you guys feel about this year realistically going into it?
I think we had our first team meeting today, and we talked a little bit about how this year's challenge is going to be completely different, that we had kids who had to play 40 minutes because we had no other options. And this year it's going to be more of it's not normal. Our point guard, Dora, shouldn't play 40 minutes a game in order for her to be our best, in order for our team to be the best. So I think one of our challenges, and if I've learned anything the past couple of years, is if there's a challenge, the kids will rise to it. But it's figuring out how to mesh everyone together and be comfortable in their position and know their role while still putting the team first. So I think we'll be deeper than probably any team in the past 3 years we've had. But with that, hopefully our chemistry is still there, and the mission's still the same, to do whatever it takes for the team to win games.
And I want to go back and talk about Blanca for a minute here. So obviously you guys got a very strong fan base right here in Central Maine. Great home crowds. You guys are well supported.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not so much throughout the state. Maybe they don't know about the girls as much downstate as they do here. For those that haven't had a chance to see Blanca play, just describe what type of player she is. You mentioned reigning offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year. And I remember watching her as a freshman, and you could just tell, like, okay, like she was going to be something. But, like,
Yep.
I think even the jump she made might have even surprised you guys and the coaching staff. And she just seems to get better and better. So for those that haven't had a chance to see her play or aren't familiar with her, just go ahead and describe just how special of a player she is.
Well, I know my first time I ever saw her, I came in, it was her sophomore season when I got the job up here. And they had her doing 2-ball handling in the gym. And I heard she was supposed to be pretty good, and she's trying to dribble these 2 balls, and it looked awkward as hell. So she's just an awkward player when you first see her. But she is someone who, from her freshman year until now her 5th year, she's gotten better. And I think the basketball piece for sure has been something that she's improved on, and she's watched a lot of film and she's put the time in on the court. But I think it's the mental piece that she's really grown, especially the first couple years. I think they were unexpected. She kind of had a breakout year her sophomore season. But she, after that sophomore season, I think really committed to, she wants to be the best, and she's competitive as heck, and she's going to do whatever it takes to be the best and to really leave her mark on the program. So she's about 6 feet for a guard. She has super long arms. So defensively, she's got her hands on a lot of loose balls, which really feeds into her offense. Then offensively, she can really do a little bit of everything. Something we talked about for her is she can drive to the basket. She's got a weird spin move, but she really needed to improve her 3-point shot from her junior season. So that was something her senior year that should have been last year that she'd worked on. And I think going into this 5th year will be even more evident just how well-rounded she is and just prepared she is for kind of whatever defensively other teams throw at her.
And health-wise, she back? She 100%? She ready to go?
Yeah, actually today she got cleared 100%. So she is back, and she can do full contact. Once we start doing scrimmaging, all that stuff, she'll be able to go all the way. So it was good news for us today here.
And she's one of those imports. I mean, you guys have had a lot of success recruiting-wise with this overseas thing. And I'm just curious, is it more so a necessity? Because maybe you don't get like some of the kids that are from, Southern New England, New York and stuff like that. Is it just one of those things where you guys have to kind of get creative initially and then just had success and now it's kind of like you just got that pipeline coming in? What is it about European imports coming here to Maine and doing so well?
I think it's twofold. I think originally it was, if we went and saw a kid in Connecticut that we really, really liked, a kid that was a high D1 kid or even mid-major level, in order for her to get to Maine, she's got to pass through 10 or 15 other D1 schools that are closer to home.
Yeah.
And for some kids is really important for them to be close to home. They just have a lot more options and a lot more offers, I'd say, than some of the European kids. And when we go to Europe, honestly, in a lot of ways, they're a lot less maintenance than some of these kids from the United States, for them, they're super grateful for the opportunity. They're looking for a place where basketball is really important. I think that's something special about Maine, that we do have a great fan base. We play at a high level. And also kind of our style of play is not completely, but it's a little bit more in line with the European, where our post players got to be versatile. They got to be able to step out and pass the ball. A lot more fundamentally driven than some of the AU you see, where it's one-on-one dribble drive. So I think there's all kinds of components that fit into it. And then I think once we have success with a couple players who come here from Europe and they've had great careers and great experiences, that then perpetuates and kind of keeps things rolling with some other Europeans that are looking for a home that they know that they'll be supported, and a place that they'll have a great basketball career, but also school and everything else. So
you mentioned the challenges of trying to recruit someone from Southern New England, but I'm guessing there's also challenges with recruiting kids from right here in Maine, right? Because they probably want to do the opposite. They probably want to get out of Maine and go someplace, go to like these bigger schools. Because I mean, we have no shortage of talent, but they don't seem to stay home. Is there a challenge there trying to keep kids home, or is it just more so you guys have had success with the European route and you guys are kind of going that route instead?
I think, and I hope Amy doesn't get mad at me for saying this, but I think there's like a misconception that we don't recruit Maine kids, or that we don't go hard after Maine kids, and that's simply not true. I think each kid's different, and what's important to them is different, and what they're looking for is different. And as a coaching staff, you respect that and know that, you know what, UMAINE's not for everyone. And for an 18-year-old kid who's looking at college opportunities and they've lived in Maine their whole life, they might want to try something else, which I think is perfectly reasonable. With that said, I think the Maine kids that we do recruit and that do end up coming here and have careers here, they understand that it's really special and it's not for everyone. When you play for Maine, all eyes are on you, and the whole state is really looking at you as the Maine kid to succeed and to do well. So you look at Priest Rosignol, who I know is a Northern Maine girl, but she's seen it all here at Maine. And then once she finally figured out, once she put it all together, she lived in this superstardom of Maine basketball and Priest Rosignol and UMAINE. So I think there are challenges, definitely. We're 2 hours north of Portland. So if you're in Portland, you can drive 2 hours south and be in Boston. But for kids who want to play at a program where we win championships, we play in front of the second highest attended female basketball games in New England behind UConn. You can't compete with that, I don't think. So when kids talk to us about what matters, if those things matter, then it kind of helps with us recruiting and seeing, you know what, this is the place that you want to end up.
You mentioned how you guys have had success getting Maine kids. There's always a kid from Maine on the roster going back, I don't know how far, probably since the beginning of time. And just on the coaching staff, you got Amy, who went to UMAINE. Yep. You mentioned Parise and Courtney, right? All three of them. And then also this year, still bringing them in. So Lexi Middlestad, who we had on the podcast a couple months back. Yep. She's part of that freshman class. So who else do you guys have coming in this year? Who else can you talk to us about?
Yeah, so we have 6 kids coming in the freshman class. So it's definitely a different dynamic. We have six freshmen and then 8 seniors and 3 sophomores. So we don't have any juniors. But so those 6, we have Lexi from Maine, who's been on this podcast before, and she's come in and she's been able to do workouts with us, and she works hard, which is really the first thing that you need to do in order to play Division I play for us here. We have 2 girls from Spain, so Alba and Lara. Alba's a point guard. She's someone who I think will learn a lot this year from Dor, who's our senior point guard and has started every game since her freshman year. And then Lara is kind of like a 3-4, can shoot the ball, can also post up if she needs to. So those are our 2 Spanish girls. We have a girl from Denmark, Caroline, who is probably about 5'11", 6 feet, who's really versatile, plays defense really, really, really hard. She's someone who, when Coach Amy and I went over to the European Championships, she's someone who, when you watch a game, and if you're looking for kind of if you're just watching a game and seeing who scores the most points or who might have the most raw talent, you might miss her. But if you watch enough of her team play, she makes an impact all the time, all over the floor. And then we have a girl, Olivia from Vermont, who's a shooter, phenomenal shooter. So she'll hopefully help with, we like to launch the 3-ball, so she'll help with that. And then we have Katie White she's from Virginia area. So she played for the same program that Maeve Carroll played for AU-wise. And she'll bring a post presence to us and has an opportunity to earn some minutes at the post spot too. So with those 6, and then what we have coming back, I think we have a lot of really good pieces to work around.
With so many kids coming from out of country and then kind of meshing with the people that grew up here, is there like a culture clash? Is there like initially like a mending time, like a bonding time for everyone to kind of get used to each other? Because I mean, you go to Europe, different styles of play in different countries. You come to America, different style of play here. I'm guessing on the court, there's that takes some time to just kind of blend and get used to each other, but also personality-wise. Like, have you guys noticed that, or do you guys have the type of culture in place where everyone just kind of seems to come in and you guys recruit people that fit your culture and fit the program, and there's not really that much trouble?
You know what? It's one of the things that we've been really lucky in the past 3 years I've been here. We have kids and we have a culture where we don't have to worry about that sort of thing. When you're a part of our program, as soon as you step on campus, you're a part of it, and our upperclassmen take care of you. And there's no rank; you're one of us, and we're all going to do what we need to do to get better. It takes, like anything, like any sort of friendship relationship, takes time to grow that, get comfortable, to build that trust. That's important. But I think something that our program really stands on is our family aspect, and that once you're part of it, it's something special and something that they're going to look out for you on the court, off the court. So it's really, we've been fortunate. We haven't had to worry too much about that in the past few years.
So hopefully everything gets rolling here soon, because I really want to see, like, I feel like I haven't watched basketball in forever. I'm excited to see it get going here.
Oh, I know.
Coaching staff wise, how do you guys get along? You mentioned who's on the coaching staff. You mentioned Paris, Courtney, Amy. Seems like you guys are a tight-knit bunch. The other 2 girls have been to the program. Amy's, was there as a player. There's a coach now. Do you guys get along good? Like, is it a pretty close coaching staff, or what? Are you guys get along as well as the players do?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes back to, I know all of us, myself, Courtney, and Paris, we're all here because we respect Amy, and we believe in what she's building and what she's built. And we think, as far as I'm concerned, I work for someone who I learned so much from in the past 3 years. I've learned a ton, and I'm continuing to learn a lot. So I think it's built. The first part is the respect piece, and just how much we appreciate all that she knows, all that she does, which I think really helps with then. We are a close staff. We all we do what we need to do work-wise, but we like to have fun doing it too. So I don't know that it's like that everywhere. I think there's programs where it's a little bit more separated, I guess, segmented as far as coaching staff wise. But I think what we have going here is special. I think when we recruit kids, they see that we care about this program a lot. We care about our teammate, the girls on our team. So it's an interesting crew. So everyone's got their own little personality, but it all works together.
Coach Amy. All right. So she inherited players that were recruited by the previous regime. So she won with those players. She's winning with her players now, players that she's bringing in. Like, there's been no drop in the level of success. Can you just speak to what it is that she's doing so well, or how is she able to relate to these players? And how has she been able to keep just programs and skip the beat? And like you said, going into this year too, like, you guys got to feel good about coming out on top again. What is it about Coach Amy that she's just doing so well and just is connecting with the players and bringing the right players in that has you guys just on top, really?
I think there's a few things. I think one of the biggest things she's taught me about coaching is you got to be who you are, and you can't try to replicate someone else, and you can't be someone else. So she is who she is. She knows who she is. She's super transparent, and she doesn't play any games with the girls. So who she is when she's recruiting you is the same as she's going to be coaching on the sideline, who's going to be the same as on long bus rides. That's who Amy is. So I think that's really important, that she stays true to who she is, and she's not trying to be someone she isn't. And she just works. I mean, she works hard. She works her ass off. She is not just for the basketball piece, but she really cares about our kids on and off the court. And I think her having before she was a coach, she was a guidance counselor at a middle school. So I think she understands also too what makes kids work and what buttons to press and when they need to be pushed and when they need to have a conversation that's a little bit less intimidating. So I think she really understands what makes girls work, what makes them motivated to succeed, and that it's not just the basketball piece. They need to have that relationship piece too. So she's just someone who I think when you watch her, it looks easy just because she knows what to do, when to do when to say what. But it's all really calculated and has come from a lot of her experience with guidance counseling, with being an assistant, with her playing days, and now her being in charge.
And I want to know what your journey was to get here, because obviously there's steps to get to ultimately wherever you want to be, and to get to a high level like D1. I guess there's some stepping stones to get there. You just don't kind of fall into that. So what is it? How did you get there? We'll go back to the beginning, kind of trace your story.
All right.
Just curious too, like, where does the love of basketball come from? Right? Because a lot of the people that I've had on that are coaches, like they said they knew, like I knew growing up, like I wanted to play. And as soon as I got done playing, I wanted to go right into coaching. Was it that way for you, where you knew you always wanted to be a coach? Where does that love come from, and where did it all begin?
My story to coaching is definitely, it's a different one. It's not typical. So I went to South Portland High School, didn't play basketball there for the high school team. I played on the rec team. I played pickup after school, but just playing for the basketball, I have a twin brother, so that was his thing to do. And he wasn't great at it either, but he played basketball on the team. And then I was a fan. So that was through high school. And then when I went to college, I went to the University of Maine. And in my head, I thought I was going to be a teacher. So I studied education. And then it was, throughout college, I liked basketball. I was a fan of especially college basketball. And then I think it was my senior year. It was Coach Barron's first year here at UMAINE. He was hired to take over the women's program. And I said, you know what? His resume was as impressive as you can get. So he was at Baylor, he was at NC State. I said, if I think I want to be a basketball coach, I might have an interest in that. I gotta try to learn some more, and what better person to learn from than him. So my senior year, I asked to be a manager on the team, and it was his first year. So it was a rough year. It was a rebuilding year for sure. But he was gracious enough to let me be a manager, which I was able to be at every practice. I was able to watch film. I traveled with them to games. So I saw kind of an introductory level to what it took to be a coach. So then after I graduated, I started teaching. And actually down at SMTC in Southern Maine, I was a volunteer there for 2 years. And then it was my second year there. After my second year, the head coach, who was Julia Howe at the time, she knew Carla Flaherty. She had worked for Carla Flaherty, who was at Bates and took over at Roanoke College. And she said, hey, do you know anyone that would want to possibly move out to Virginia and coach full time? So I was teaching fourth grade, and it wasn't going great, to be honest with you. It was tough. And I said, you know what, if I'm going to try something, I got to take the jump now. So I moved to Virginia. I was there for 3 years. And when I was at Maine, I got to know Amy and stayed in touch with her. And so after 3 years at Roanoke, she called, and there was a position on her staff as the director of operations. And again, I jumped at it and said, if I'm going to learn from someone, I think she's one of the best ones I could learn from. And nothing was guaranteed. So my pay that first year was rough. I had to work 6 or 7 extra. I sent Amy one day, I sent her my resume from my time when I was the director of operations and on all my side jobs. So I was an ice cream scooper. I was a crossing guard for 2 weeks. But I knew that coaching was something I was passionate about. So I was willing to kind of just work at it, and kept doing it. And then a coaching position opened up, and Amy somehow picked me to do that. And that was a couple of years ago, and we're just rolling, just hoping to keep rolling. So
quite the journey right there. I want to go back to the director of operations things, because I've talked to some other guys who have done that too, like as part of their progression from just getting the coaching gig to getting a head coaching gig. So just explain like all the work that goes into that position.
So you're pretty much everything besides basketball piece that comes to like the team, you're sort of responsible for. So it's team travel, it's flights, it's hotels, it's food before the games, after the games. In practice, they'll have you running the scoreboard, they'll have you keeping stats. They'll do some of the office work, so helping with class schedules and being the person who talks with the academic coordinator. So it's really, you're more of it's not so much on the court stuff, it's all the stuff kind of running in the background in order to make a team, a Division I team run successfully. But because of that, you get to be at every practice and be in the locker room during film sessions. So for me, it was, I'm going to use that year just to learn in and soak as much as possible, knowing that I wanted to be a coach. And I think if you go in with that attitude, you can really take a lot out of it. And I was fortunate enough the next year that Amy saw that I might have some skill and some ability and trusted to give me that position. And it's where I'm at now.
Yeah. Another thing you mentioned too is how you kind of started off being a manager. So, I mean, that's two things you did right there that aren't directly, not directly coaching. Like you're not actually coaching players, but you're around the program, you're around players. Now, how do all these little things add up to experience? I mean, experience is everything, right? So, I mean, that's what you want. You want to gain experience. How can experience from being a manager, from being director of basketball operations, like how do those things contribute to eventually becoming a coach? Like how do you look back on things you gained from that and use it now being an actual assistant on the staff?
I think just wherever you're at. So there's some great experiences. There might be some experiences that weren't so great, but you learn what you think or what you want your program to look like if you're ever given that opportunity. You learn, you know what, I was here and I didn't like how this was, so how can I bring that into my coaching philosophy? And I think you just learn, if you're willing to absorb information and just see how things are done at different places, what will work for you. So like I said, Coach Amy is big on, you got to be who you are. So I don't think you're never going to change who you are as a person and your beliefs and your personality, but there are definitely things on the court, X's and O's wise, that one coach might do that another coach might not do. And for you, it's a great opportunity just to dive into that and see what works for you or what kind of fits your style. And it's good just to bounce different ideas. So when I was at Roanoke, we might have done one thing, and even at Maine, I might say, hey, we tried this. And your role as an assistant is to offer suggestions and understand they might be shot down, but keep offering them. So I think just the more experience you have, different levels, different coaching styles, it really just benefits you more and your overall knowledge base at the end of the day.
What's one thing you learned from either one of those roles, being around practices for different coaches, is that you would say, hey, whenever I have a team, we're not doing that. It could be, we're not doing 5 a.m. practices. I saw that was a terrible idea. Or we're not doing this flavored Gatorade practices because that's not a good idea. What's the one thing that you know for a fact from having witnessed it, being like a manager, being director of basketball operations? What's one thing for a fact, when you have your own coaching gig, we're not doing this?
Well, you definitely never morning practices, because I don't know any program that has great morning practices. And we're lucky here. Amy knows that, and she's not a huge morning person. But more than that, the girls aren't ever, what college kid is ever a morning person while they're in college?
Right.
So that's one thing. I think too, something that I'll never do is, I think, play mind games. And that's something here at Maine we don't do, but there are certain situations where a coach might say one thing and then do another. And I think that just messes with kids' minds and psyches. So I think just be honest and be sincere, and that goes a long way too. Trying to think what else. I'll never either. This is something else that I would never do. I would never make all of the coaches, like every single person, wear the same thing, like on game day. Like we travel someplace and it looks like a bunch of, they're all wearing the same thing, and it takes too much coordination and not my style. So I would never do that either.
Give the kids some freedom right there, right?
Have to. Yeah.
All right. For those that have never been to a UMAINE game and haven't seen you guys or the coaching staff on the sideline, which coach are you? Are you the one jumping up and down with the clipboard? Are you the one hassling the refs? Are you the one right behind the head coach kind of whispering here like, hey, we should try this? Are you the one who kind of pulls the players aside and has a little heart-to-heart with them on the bench? Like which one do you fit? Which coaching profile?
I think I'm definitely a little bit more low-key, a little bit try to keep things mellow and calm. Courtney's the yeller. She's the one who she'll get after the refs if she feels like she needs to be. But my other job is I have to tell Amy when someone gets how many fouls a player has, which is not easy. So I'll tell her, Amy, Dora has 3 fouls, and she might not hear me, or she might selectively not hear me. So I'm like, Amy, Dora has, and she makes sure that she knows that I know that she knows. So that's not the most fun part of the coaching part during game. But my job is to tell her who has fouls and how many timeouts she has during a game.
All very important stuff, though.
Yeah.
Everyone plays a role, just like players play a role, coaches play a role too.
Yep.
So one of the cool things about you guys is since the program has been so good, you guys get some pretty good non-conference games, right, against some very good non-conference programs and some cool tournaments and stuff like that. For a guy from Maine, what's like maybe one program you guys played or one venue you guys have been to where you look at it and you say, you know what, like I'm kind of new in this coaching game thing, and I've already gotten to do this, or coach against this coach, this team, been in this venue. What's a couple of things or places that kind of stand out?
I think definitely we were fortunate enough not last year, but the 2 years prior to that, to play in the NCAA tournament. So our first year we played at Texas, and then 2 years ago we played at NC State. And just to play those 2 programs who have had so much success and who have coaches who have had success, and to play in arenas where their fans come to the games and support their teams, it was really, really special. I think as far as the best environment we played in, we played at Mississippi State a couple years ago, and they are a passionate fan base, and they definitely get after it. And then 2 years ago too, we played at UNC, and we beat them playing there.
Remember that?
So that was, especially some kids might not know where Maine is, but when we tell them we beat UNC, they know who they are. So that's a cool thing. So I think definitely something else that we do at Maine that's unique is we play as many challenging and top ranked teams as possible. So this coming season, hopefully it's still a go, but we're supposed to play in a tournament with UConn, Mississippi State, and Quinnipiac. So that'll be those. UConn and Mississippi State are probably top 10 teams next year, and they're always top 10 teams. Then Quinnipiac is a special program too. They had a good run a couple of years ago. So
another cool thing you got to do, and I had Parise on a while back too. I had Parise on the podcast and asked her the same question, because you guys get to do stuff that not normal folks like me don't get to do. Selection show for the NCAA tournament. You guys had ESPN filming you guys, right, to get your reaction. Did you have a planned reaction? How awkward is it just kind of waiting for your turn to kind of act crazy? Did you know what you were going to do? What's that like?
Well, it's funny. The first year I had it was all new to me. So I was just sitting in the back trying to soak it all in. I think there were some free wings or something, so I was eating those. But last year, or 2 years ago, I guess it was now, was when that the bracket got leaked. So we were supposed to have the selection show at 7, I think. And we're going to have all the news people there, and then it got leaked online. So we had to scramble and get everyone together and kind of do a fake reaction to it. So it wasn't quite as exciting as that first year. But it was definitely, the whole NCAA tournament's a unique experience in itself. So from that selection show up until the day of the game, it's like nothing else that you'd ever think about. It's all on another level. So
you just mentioned something that gave me an idea. If you guys win the tournament this year, and we know you're getting into the NCAA tournament, you mentioned the news crews being there. Can Big Time be there? Can Big Time be part of the press and just be in the building for that?
Oh, if COVID things are under control and we can let people in, absolutely.
That's
we'll do that.
All right, perfect.
Cool. That'd be cool.
So a couple more things before we get up out of here. You mentioned how attendance is great for your home games. Second highest attended games, only behind UConn and New England. That's huge. What can you say about Black Bear Nation? Maybe give them some words of encouragement, like, "Hey, hang in there. We're gonna be all right. Come out and support us this winter." What can you tell Black Bear Nation before we get up out of here?
Well, I think they know this, but I hope they know that our girls absolutely love the support they give us, and they know that we go to other places and we don't play in front of fans like we have here. So it's not unappreciated. We thank them all for coming to the games and coming to games on Wednesdays when it's snowing and 20 degrees out. But hopefully our girls are working hard, and we're not sure what the season's going to look like, but just know that whatever happens, our team will be ready, and hopefully we can share that with you in person. And if not, just know that when we win, it's for you as well, and hopefully you guys all enjoy the success that we have as well.
And real quick, can I get a prediction out of you? Where are you guys going to finish the season? We're going to go back to back to hiccup back. 3 out of 4, three in a row, however you want to call it. We're going 3 in a row, three-peat?
I hope so. I think we'll be in a pretty good position. I mean, we've been fortunate enough that we've past couple, not last year, last year we somehow strung together a really crazy stretch of wins. But I think we have the pieces, and it'll come down to how well we mesh together and if we can get playing well at the right time and get on a run in the tournament. So that's the plan, at least. So we'll see what happens down the road, but that's our goal.
I hope so. I'm excited. I can't wait to watch basketball again. I love going to the girls' games. I've been going to the girls' games since like Coach Barron's first year, so I've been at it for a while, and
Yeah.
it's fun. It's a great environment. It's great play. It's great quality. I mean, like I said, you guys have been just at the top of the conference for I don't know how many years now, and it's a great product, and it's fun to watch. So
Thank you.
hopefully everything works out and we get to watch some basketball this winter.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I know.
Before we get up out of here, I always give my guests a chance to say one piece before we get up the air here. So anything you want to say to the folks out there, recruiting pitch maybe to somebody out there, some advice to maybe for someone maybe to looking to get into the coaching game, anything you want to say before we get up out of here?
I think I probably should have thought about this a little bit more, but I think for me, I think the team last year, for where I'm at, for the coaches that I see around me that are successful, it's just, if you're working hard and committed to something, good things tend to happen. And I think our team last year is definitely a testament to that. And I don't say it too often to them, to my team at least from last year, but just how proud they made me as a coach, and to make Black Bear Nation, it was really a special run. And I hope those who were able to witness it really understood just what they were able to do. And that Maine is a special place. And even when we might not have all the pieces like last year, we still we'll try to find a way to win, and that's what Maine women's basketball is all about.
Absolutely. So shout out to Tom Biskup for coming through tonight on Big Time Hoops, the podcast. Like I said, I've been a big fan of the program, and the coaching staff is great. The players are great, and hopefully everything gets back to normal very quickly here so we can get back to Black Bear Hoops, because it's the best thing going all winter long around here. Seriously. I mean, what else are you going to do? It's the best show in town, right?
It needs something to look forward to. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So make sure to check out all of our future episodes and all of our past episodes. Go check them out on Apple Podcast, YouTube, Facebook, Spotify. They're up there. And check out the previous ones. Mentioned Parise Rosnell. Go check out her episode if you haven't listened to Parise's and Lexi. Also, the freshman at UMAINE this year. Go check out her episode. So thank you for watching and listening. And we'll see you next week with another big time episode of Big Time Hoops, the podcast. See ya.